Mike Kenner. Hi, I'm Michael Kenner. I'm originally from Nashville and have migrated all over this country throughout my 35 years. And I grew up in the urban core here in town, and this will be kind of my story about me as a developer here in town and my philosophy about development. So we can go ahead and begin whatever. So I own My Kin Development. We named this Pecha Kucha. I hope I said it right. The tale of a re-urbanizationist, story of a neighborhood-centric developer. And so this is kind of a new philosophy that I kind of borrowed from the Pacific Northwest, and we'll get into that. But being a neighborhood developer, being a developer that really helps build community. Thank you, Ron, for that. So I started my development career in Seattle. I was in the Army for a couple of years and ended up in Tacoma, where that Tacoma Narrows Bridge is. And I actually started putting land deals together for other developers and watching them go through the entitlement process. And that went great up until about 2008 when the economy crashed. And like a lot of developers, I figured it'd be better to be a broke college kid than a broke real estate developer. So I packed my bags and moved back to Nashville from Seattle in 2010 and went to MTSU and went back to school for commercial development and construction management. And while I was there learning construction, I got to really study some of the smart growth principles that CNU. MTSU does not offer a program for that. I did that all on my own. But it's kind of an interesting philosophy because smart growth really encompasses a full neighborhood and a full city. And so we wanted to take the smart growth principles and kind of hyper-focus them down. So we picked a neighborhood called the Nations. And so if you look at smart growth principles, socioeconomic diversity is one of the keys. And the Nations was kind of the perfect storm for that. This neighborhood was actually platted in 1882, and it was all platted as shotgun lots. And so every 50-foot wide lot in the Nations has 2 lots underneath it. And this was kind of an interesting loophole that we figured out, but it gave us the perfect storm to be able to double the density in a neighborhood and look at how to create a really dense urban neighborhood. So we actually painted that sign as a portion of something called tactical urbanism. And this gets back to that being a neighborhood-centric developer. For those of you that aren't familiar, tactical urbanism is the implementation of temporary measures to affect permanent change. And so we wanted to use tactical urbanism, A, as a relationship-building tactic with the neighborhood, but B, because there was this road that a bunch of groups have actually studied and all the groups said it needed a road diet. So we wanted to throw a party on this road and show the city what it could be like. So we took over 51st Avenue in front of Stone Fox. We turned it from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes for a day. We put in temporary bike lanes and tried to get pedestrian crosswalks, but we didn't. And that was kind of to help build our relationship for what was about to come. So this is the Nations, and each parcel that you see highlighted in red is one of our developments that's either in the pipeline or getting built right now. I think we've got a total of all those developments. It's around 230 units with, I want to say 4,000 square feet of retail. And so the Nations has a really cool history. And while we were developing there, we wanted to make sure that we paid attention to the neighbors that were there, but also to the history that was there. That tree right there is actually called the Treaty Oak, and it's where James Robertson signed what's called the Treaty of Oak, which gave him the right to develop out Nashville where it sits at First Avenue. And our development, Treaty Oak Cottages, actually sits a half a block from where that happened. And so this was kind of an interesting way to give a homage to the history. This land that we had found was a 6-acre parcel. Those are kind of a modern cottage courtyard, a lot like the one that was presented earlier. These will be Nashville's first healthy homes, and one of our goals with this was to try and find some of the sizes and points that are missing within the neighborhood. So we varied our sizes. Everybody else around us was building 2,000 square feet. We came in and built 850 to 1,600 square feet. These will be Nashville's first healthy homes. We actually were able to pick this up right as we were going through rezoning for that giant parcel you just saw that's behind it. And this is where Nashville's first shipping container apartment building is going to go. And the cool thing about it was we were actually able to carve out 12 parking spaces out of our residential site to be able to park this structure, because this site was a small site. And so we've got Smith G Studios designing what will hopefully be the first residential shipping container apartment building here in Nashville. And our philosophy for why we wanted to do that here was because it's all about placemaking. And how do you pull a draw? We kind of got this isolated corner. It's not a big commercial pocket, but how do you activate it? How do you bring people there? And so we wanted to activate it architecturally, but we also wanted to have a massive amount of diversity. So like I said, the houses behind it are 850 square feet to 1,600 square feet. We decided to go even smaller. So we're doing 320 square foot micro units up to 640 square feet. We'll have some dual use furniture. This is another project that's right behind Stone Fox. This is going to be 6 live work units essentially, and they're going to be 1,000 square feet max. And these gave us an opportunity to introduce a price point that you just couldn't find in that neighborhood anymore. Our whole goal is to try to kind of make sure that everybody's encompassed so that this doesn't happen. And as a smart growth developer and as a neighborhood-centric developer, I think looking out for everyone from the top to the bottom is key in what we do for a living, because a lot of people want to develop out high-end condos and a lot of people want to develop out Section 8 housing, but if you do that, you concentrate that in other neighborhoods instead of making sure that each neighborhood is a true reflection of society, then you won't be able to actually have a good neighborhood. And there's a lot of people that have written books about it. Triumph of the City is a great reference for that. 670 James, which that is actually a little off on the Metro maps. Essentially, we've just contracted another 4.5 acres that we're going to do 102 unit townhouse / condo development. That's also going to be Nashville's first deed restricted partnership with a nonprofit. And it's kind of a model for inclusionary zoning, so that's going to be really cool. And Treaty Oaks and the shipping container building were both featured in Urban Land magazine in the last issue that came about, and they were featured because of kind of an article around capturing millennials. And so tying it all back together, we kind of had this everybody holding hands thing at the end. We figured that was advantageous because as a developer, if you go into a neighborhood and you do your job right, you should be standing with all your neighbors like that at the end.
Yeah.